Hello to crypto subscribers, users, members. Actually, not subscribers yet because we're still free. This is Jon Morgan, and I'm here with you again for our second live stream for the crypto markets, looking at the technical analysis and doing a whole lot of stuff. Sorry, I'm a little late. I did not get the right stream key from my partners, and yeah, so I am tardy. That is my fault. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into this. Also, welcome back any of our Forex Lens customers. Nice to talk with you again all the way from this morning. And let's go ahead and dive into here. So, yesterday we discussed a lot about... Where are you at? There we are. We discussed a lot about the current setup in Bitcoin and how, actually it was on the Square 52 chart. Where are you at? There we are. We discussed a lot about the price action that was happening near the 3/8 major harmonic level here. So that's 75.62 value area, which we did cross above. And when we were talking about it yesterday, I was discussing that we have the highest probability of facing some resistance up against these angles in the Square 52 and finding some support at this major harmonic price level, and then also finding some resistance up against this arc. And if you did watch the recording yesterday, if you were watching the live stream, I did mention that the move to get above this arc would have to be pretty substantial and pretty powerful. And I was up late trading this last night. I'm still awake actually, and that is exactly what happened. It's been a lot of fun trading. What is really nice about this trade is that it has really just the behavior of this price action lately is a little different than what we've been used to really over the last 6 months of this bear market that we've been in. These rallies have not been, so far, they have not been false rallies, and any of the dips from these areas of resistance have been handily bought up, and the momentum has really been sustained here. And so this is a pretty bullish signal. The only thing that is giving me a little bit of a hey, watch out, is that this level right here is one that is going to be naturally resistive where we're currently resting. If you were in our Forex Lens sessions in the morning, you've heard me talk about harmonic price ranges and how prices react to them. So when a thicker harmonic level like this, when prices breach this zone and it moves to test these red lines, are actually, these act as pivots. They're all technically kind of pivots, but this is actually considered our extreme overbought condition in the price action. And there's a whole lot of stuff right in this entire area that should be a naturally resistive area. So if you are long in here, I've taken off some profit in this zone just because it is really extended out of this entire breakout zone, which is still bullish. I mean, I still have some buy stops ahead of these highs, above these highs. But for the time being, I see a couple zones that should be. I would like to see some responsive selling here to test back down before we move higher. But this red horizontal level at 82.25 is a natural pivot zone and a resisted zone. And then we also have hi everyone, my name is Jon. We also have this 45-degree angle, which is supposed to act as resistance. Then the arc itself acts as resistance. So really, though, the breach of this, what makes this kind of a difficult read is that the prices on the hourly have maintained above this pivot level, and prices on the hourly have maintained above the 45. Additionally, once an arc is broken, price likes to stay out of it. Try and think of Gann arcs like like a time warp. Okay, when prices approach a Gann arc, they don't like to stay inside of it or really around it. They like to be propelled away from it. And if price does end up inside an arc, it generally wants to leave it fairly quickly. And if we were to look at past price action, we can see that kind of activity where we often see some major kind of fluctuating drives inside an arc where price likes to get rid of it, get outside of it fairly quickly. Prices do not like to trade inside these arcs. So again, looking at the current price action, that is what we have happening and in Bitcoin. And last night's price action was actually a lot of fun. We certainly saw quite a bit of the fun drives higher, and it was really sustained. And looking at a lot of, hold on one second here. A lot of the action was pretty supportive, and it's been maintained very nice. A lot of the other coins as well have been doing pretty good. While Bitcoin was doing its drive higher last night, a lot of the altcoins were facing a lot of weakness, which is normal. This is actually something we want to see. This is a very, very bullish fundamental signal. When we see altcoins, when we see altcoins in the great majority red and down, but we see Bitcoin rising, that is a very bullish sign, because then we're going to get this rotation in the market. We're going to get this rotation of capital where we're going to go from, and this won't always remain the same, so it's good to take advantage of this while we can. But until a lot of the exchanges, like I know Bittrex is coming out with it sometime this year, I think they're going to be coming out with dollar pair trading for all cryptos. Right now it's just a few, and now they're testing it only in a few states. But what we really want to see is this rotation of Bitcoin leading the pack and gaining value, while we have the altcoins losing value. And then as Bitcoin starts to trade down, we see the rotation from Bitcoin into altcoins, where we're actually going to catch a lot more of the bigger value plays, the big, I hate to say the word pump in a lot of these coins. That's where we're going to see a lot of that money being played. So the rotation of money from Bitcoin to alts is something we're watching play out here, because last night that did happen. We were watching a lot of the altcoins catch a bit of a bid when Bitcoin had a little bit of selling pressure. So, pay close attention to the major. If you ever hear me reference something like the majors, kind of like in Forex, we have the majors, but I consider the majors anything that is traded on Coinbase. I know Coinbase is probably not everybody's favorite thing to use, but Coinbase is certainly a pretty normal, popular, and well-known exchange / wallet. And so the majors I would consider, and I don't consider Bitcoin. I hate Bitcoin Cash. I think it's evil. But you got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Those are your majors. And I've been a Cardano bull ever since last September when it came out. But we got Ethereum and Litecoin. Litecoin, definitely, this is a breakout waiting to happen right here. Litecoin is in a beautiful, gorgeous, I love market geometry, by the way. It's just, it always fascinates me how well prices respect these arcs and these angles. But Litecoin is sitting in a very, very nice position for a breakout where we've got a couple entry areas to look at if we wanted to. There is, the present value area at 87.20, where we could wait for price to move in time outside of this. So we'd be looking at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, 5 o'clock Central Standard Time. Hold on. We see that there is the 5 o'clock Central Standard Time was where we would move out in time to trade higher. Or we could wait for a break above this price action here. That is something that we could do too. You could wait for the $89 or $90 value area. Either way, Litecoin is certainly the laggard out of Ethereum and Bitcoin in the majors, and Litecoin is a personal. Full disclosure, Litecoin represents one of the largest holdings in my hodl portfolio. I really like Litecoin. It's fast. It's used a lot. It's Litecoin Foundation bought a 10% stake in a German bank. Charlie Lee came out and said that they're doing everything they can to push Litecoin beyond that $400 mark. T. Lamont, certainly I will do that. And so Litecoin certainly has got a nice play in front of us here. I think Litecoin's got quite a bit of a bid it can catch to move higher here. And certainly do not forget the 5 coins that Coinbase is considering listing: BAT, Basic Attention Token, XLM, Zcash, Cardano, and I know I'm missing one. You know what? Don't know. Yeah. I sometimes slaughter names. I don't mean to, but Lamont Silver. Okay, yeah, and we can look over Ethereum right now because Ethereum's got a really interesting setup. I don't know if you were here yesterday, but Ethereum is sitting very nicely and behaving exactly as we want to see it. So this is my own style of market geometry. It's actually applying a few of Gann's, and the chart is all wonky. Hold on, I gotta reload it. Trading View sometimes is a little wonky. Like what? What is all that going on? Oof. All right, Ethereum. Wow, it's still really off center here. Sometimes you got to change that and then go back to the daily and it'll fix it. Nope, it didn't. Give me one moment. I won't put in the exact values, but I will certainly adjust this real quick so I can get just for the current price action. There we go. Oh, it's going to bother me if I don't slide that over. So this chart is Gann's law of vibration cycle. It's a 192-day cycle. And what we want to see, if we ever have something trading where on the very outer expansive arcs, the 100% arcs, these blue arcs, the blue circle, if we ever have prices trading above it or below it as we're transitioning to the end and beginning of a new cycle, we want to see it not trend. We want to see it range towards it, because that's really telling us that we have a base formed and we're primed to do a counter trend move. Now, we don't even really have to look at this to know that Ethereum is going to have a counter trend move here pretty soon. because Bitcoin is certainly leading the pack here. But Ethereum, once we get to this next trading day on the 25th, actually, I mean, this has already started, but we're starting a brand new time cycle, and I'll put these drawings up for this pair before tomorrow, but we should experience and observe the same price action that we're experiencing with Bitcoin, and that's called a mirrored foldback. And I think I mentioned that yesterday, where a mirrored foldback pattern is just a repetition of the previous price action, and that is a normal thing that all markets do. You'll see it on long time frames and short time frames. And so what I want to do is I want to take the price action from here all the way to today, and I'm just going to do a mirrored oops, you know what? Undo. I want to do flipped. There we go. We should observe the same kind of activity play out moving forward here. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that we would see the exact same price action play out, although in Bitcoin we are kind of seeing seeing that happen. But all we're really concerned with is noticing these swing highs and swing low zones. That's really what we're trying to focus on. Is as we get to whatever date this is, August 1st, there should be a swing high followed by some type of swing low on the 7th, and so forth. Or we could be looking for some type of major swing high on September 20th, followed by a major swing low forming in November, and then followed by a pretty drastic rise into the December-January zone. And more than likely, so we could see the price action actually trade above this here, because all we're looking for is we just want to see if we want to monitor the swings, because if we get a swing around this date and a swing around this date, then we can get that's generally enough of a confirmation that we can trade off of that kind of price action. And then the question is always, well, let's say, oops, what did I do there? Let's say, price action is trading, and, the swing low is like right around here, but then the swing high is like all the way up here. But then we know we have another swing low on this date. So what do we do? How do you determine that? Well, it's a fairly simple process. You just measure the Fibonacci range of that swing. So this swing here is this swing over here. You just measure that Fibonacci range. This is a form of price projection. Measure that Fibonacci range, and just make sure that you get the same ratios from this swing to this swing. Okay? I hope that makes some sense. And I wonder if I can delete that. There we go. So Ethereum's really a great entry area. I mean, really, the thing is that cryptos have been a good buy. Yeah, we can do Omisco. We can consider the buying time for cryptocurrencies has been ever since mid-March of this year. The proverbial buy the dip has been the name of the game, because, and I tell you what, the what we looked at yesterday when we went over the pattern that cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in general, what it takes. You know, there's a lot of lower price action in the summer, like any market, but we always generally see a larger rise in value over the fall. And the thing is that professional traders, funds, and people who've been in the market, been trading for a while, they have been buying and holding on to cryptos ever since mid-March, okay? Where all of the new money traders who were buying at the highs, they're either just sitting around or they've sold already. And you know, everybody else, this is, we're getting to the end of the time. Yeah, the best time to buy Bitcoin was 6 years ago. The second best time is right now. Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't be buying any major crypto with dollars after post 10,000, because we're gonna get a dramatic rise, and then we will get a big sell-off. It's just a pattern that works. But yeah, Omisco. What is the ticker for that again? I forget. Oh, OMG. Pfft, I knew that. Now this chart. All right, so OMG, not a lot of volume traded, but that's okay. It's all-time lows down there. We can do a quick, well, I'm not going to square it off that. Squaring a range, if you've never squared a range before, actually this would be a good thing to do. Oh yeah, Dash. You know what? You asked for Dash first. Why don't we go over Dash? You want the dollar pair, the Bitcoin pair, Ethereum? Which pair do you want of Dash? We could go with the dollar pair. Dollar pair it is. It's actually getting quite... you know, Dash is actually another one of the... I actually have a good amount of Dash in my portfolio as well, just because Dash is crazy fast. But yeah, Dash is a great transaction platform. So, squaring a range, if you've never squared a range... this video is recorded, so you can watch how to do this too. But when you square a range, Gann talked about squaring a range and how he felt it was the most accurate way to trade a market geometry. So what we want to do is we need to square the range of a high and a low. So you want to, if the all-time low is before the all-time high, then we square from low to high. So we know that the all-time low is back here at the very open. And then the all-time high is up here. So what we need to do first, and you can watch this later, rewind it, but want to right-click on our screen and go to Scales, and we want to square the chart. And so for Dash, we could do 10. That'll work. 10 works just fine. And then don't scroll with your mouse after this. Do not scroll with your mouse. You can click and drag the screen now, and the ratio, price to bar ratio stays the same. But don't scroll, otherwise you're going to mess it up. It doesn't really matter which ratio you square. You could do it 100 or 1. I'm using 10. But in order to square a range, you have to maintain the square until you finish drawing it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the horizontal line tool. I'm going to put that right at the all-time high. Okay. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the third toolbar down. I'm going to find the Gann fan. Gann never talked about Gann fans. He just talked about angles. Oh, not the Gann fan, sorry. The Gann square fixed. I'm going to put it at the very bottom there. And I'm just going to create it until it lines up with this horizontal line. Okay, this middle angle is the 45-degree angle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the same toolbar. I'm going to grab the Gann box tool. And from where I started the Gann square, I'm going to click once. And then I'm going to drag it up along this 45-degree angle until it intersects the horizontal line. All right. And then that's there. And I can hit the X. Or I can delete that Gann square. And I can right-click and I can go back to auto scale. So that's good. Now everything's fine. Now I just have to clone the Gann box and put them against one another. This might take you a little bit of finesse. I've done this a lot on different charting software and on this software. Oh, isn't that interesting? We're coming up against we're starting a new square. And so then we have the market geometry in a Gann square, or in a Gann box. This is a squared range. And then if we want to go to like a 4-hour time frame, we can look at past price action and we can see how much prices respect these angles, and how notice how the angles act as support and resistance, but also one thing that people don't always pay attention to is that the space between the angles is also going to tell you the range of the trade. Okay, so notice that when prices are trading, inside these zones, look how tight the price trading range is. It's very tight price action. But as we get into these wider open areas, we see expansive trading ranges within that geometry. And certainly when we get to the beginning and the end of a square, that is where we're going to see more of that range trading happening. And you can see that prices... this is called the Gann called it the rule of angles. I talked about this yesterday, but I'll mention it again. The rule of angles states that when price breaks an angle above or below, it'll move to test the next one above it or below it. So price broke this angle down. It means it's going to test this one, which it did. Broke this angle, tested this one down here, broke this angle, moved down. You can see there's a lot of, because this is kind of a rudimentary example of how markets are not random. They follow a set structure. I mean, candlesticks are really in a very advanced form of technical analysis. How and why they became a standard and beginning a form of reading price action boggles my mind. Because Renko charts or point and figure charts or Kagi, Gann swing, whatever, range charts are a lot easier to read than candlesticks. But if you've ever looked at candlestick charts, I know I talked about this yesterday, if you've ever looked at candlestick charts and you've had difficulty trying to figure out, okay, well, why did price stop here, there? Why is there a wick forming here and there and all these other places? Well, market geometry, like the square of a range, kind of answers that question for the most part. We often find prices culminating in long and short-term trends against these angles. So that's where your answer for a lot of those questions can be found. So as we're looking at Dash and how do we trade this, well, really we just use a little bit of a dash of common sense and construction. So I'm going to go back to the daily. There is nothing in cryptocurrencies right now that is not a buy. I mean, okay, if it's been out for more than 6 months, it's a buy. Or if it has high volume traded, Dash has been around for a long time. It's an established coin. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a safe one to hodl and trade. So Dash, though, just like Ethereum, just a different perspective and a different market geometry, Dash is at a fantastic buy zone. And the downside momentum is almost nil. And what I want you to pay attention to is that when I was just saying that the beginnings and the endings of new squares are often the most expansive what you see in the price action, as we're moving forward here from today, and actually tonight at 7 o'clock is when this new square starts based on the 4-hour chart, there is a lot of upside potential here, okay? And generally what happens when you see this is that prices don't get rejected at this. They'll move up to in here and they'll find support at this angle. You'll often find prices rally higher from where it's at now to here. And actually, I'm happy you brought this up because I'm going to make a little note here and trade that and put in a buy on this. In fact, like I said, there's nothing that's not a buy right now. It's pretty bullish market we've got going on right now. So that is Dash, OMG. Look it on the daily. Actually, why don't we look at OMG? Send me an invoice. Let's look at OMG differently. Oh, yeah, this is another Bitcoin thing I want to point out is that we're at the bottom. This is starting the third leg higher, and we've got a bullish shark pattern that completed. It actually completed back on the 15th. And then we're inside and starting the final, the D leg of a bearish shark pattern, which goes all the way up to 23,000. So this is harmonic shark patterns. Do you trade your cryptos in exchanges or in the Forex or both? I trade both Forex and cryptos. And I trade futures as well, but really ever since I started trading cryptos, I don't trade a lot of futures. If I trade any futures, it's usually on Tuesdays at the pit open. Otherwise, just Forex and cryptos. But bearish shark pattern is a H.M. Gartley wrote about this in Patterns and Profit, or Profit and Patterns. I forget what it was, but it was written like in 1936 or something. He's probably one of the more unknown godfathers of technical analysis. Best crypto exchange besides Binance that allows you to short in the USA. I use Kraken. Kraken is a fantastic. I see what you mean. I trade, so I have I manage a crypto trading bot for a private equity fund, and they use Bittrex. So I have a Bittrex account that does auto trading, but then on my own discretional trading, I use Binance. And for shorting, I use Kraken. And the only market that I short on Kraken is Ethereum, because Kraken allows up to 5 leverage. I know Poloniex does, but I hate Poloniex. I hate their interface. I mean, actually, none of them have very good interfaces, but I mean, yeah, Kraken allows you to short. Yep. They're not as clear about. I mean, there's really nothing you have. Just make sure that you have. Don't. If whatever you send, like if I want to short like quickly, I convert something into Litecoin and then send it over to Kraken, or I'll do it in Dash, and then sell it back into dollars. And then to short, just leave your account balance in dollars, and you can just sell short Ethereum or Bitcoin really really easily. It's just boom. Yes. But the bearish shark pattern is a very, very accurate Gartley harmonic pattern. Is actually this is a relatively new pattern that was, I forget the guy's name, but it was in 2011 that he found this pattern. And it's a pretty strict harmonic pattern where it has to hit the 882 Fibonacci retracement or the 113 or dot eight, the 113. So it's when it does complete, it is a very rapid response down. What I'm saying is that if this bearish shark pattern completes, where we get up to the 24,000 value area, then we should expect a very swift drive lower. And I'm talking about a fairly parabolic drive lower. Shark patterns are very, very powerful indications of sharp short-term trend or full-term trend changes. So we got to be careful of that. This is probably more than likely where we would observe that 23,000, 24,000 value area is definitely the price range that we should anticipate our first major swing down before we break all-time highs again. That's just how I kind of see that playing out. Yes. What else? Checking out Bitcoin over here. Again, moon phases. If you remember them from yesterday, Bitcoin is doing something that it hasn't done since its bull phase last year, is that we are in a new moon phase and we are printing higher prices. If we close higher than the open, then we are going to experience a very, very bullish full moon phase going into the weekend. I would expect us to retrace down to the 7,500 value area. That's the 90-degree square of 9 level. This is Optimus software, and it is hands down my favorite software for charting and analysis, but it has the best Astro tools. It has the best Gann tools. I mean, it's just an amazing suite of software. However, the one thing that, and my next favorite is Motive Wave, but the one thing that Motive Wave has that Optima doesn't is that Motive Wave supports live crypto data. You can't trade off of that yet, but you can connect Coinigy to it though. But you can't trade the live data, crypto data off of Motive Wave, but at least it does paint real-time data, whereas Optima's is still only end of day, but it's still useful because really I only really trade cryptos off of 12 and daily and weekly charts. But the fact that we closed above this 90-degree angle, 90-degree square of 9 level, is just very bullish. I mean, there's really nothing in Bitcoin's price action right now that seems very bearish. I would anticipate this price action testing, maybe test the 7,000 below that 7,500. If we're going to do that mirrored foldback pattern, we should see this area here be represented over here. And we could see that happen between tonight and then into Friday before we get to this Friday full moon, and then we move higher. And Friday's full moon is a total lunar eclipse, and it is a blood moon, and it's the longest lunar eclipse of the century. So that's cool to look at if you want to go look at it outside. I personally don't care about that stuff, but I do care that because I do care about the date significance because they are very important areas to pay attention to in any market is the moon phase. Looking forward, the most important date we have coming up next is hold on. Let me get my notes. Oh, where'd you go? August 8th. It's 47 days from June 22nd. It's very important for a change in trend, and also watch for the tops and bottoms. That is probably not a extremely relevant date because we've been in a strict downtrend for over 6 months. So the September 23rd, and if we reference back to this chart here where we have this C wave, this Elliott wave C leg up here, and then we have the last leg of this bullish shark. We see that the date is floating over here in December. Definitely nothing saying that can't happen sooner in September. So September 23rd, whatever. If we have a consistent strong trend in upwards in Bitcoin going into September 23rd, and if prices close above probably 14,333 and September 23rd, and if we take a peek at the oscillators on a fast and slower, we can definitely get... Yes, Kelvin. Too late. I saw the smiley face. Kelvin's one of the Forex Lens guys. He's the technical dude. So depending what price is at and how it has moved on September 23rd, that may be a area to consider, taking shorts or peeling some profit off, because October could certainly be a bearish month, and then November and December could be crazy parabolic bullish times. But again, we just have to watch how that plays out and be careful about it. Okay, OMG, here we are. OMG, let's look at it from this swing low. And I'm not going to do a square of a range. We can just do a Gann square. And let's see if it likes. Nope. Yeah, that works. Doesn't like that. That's pretty good. A little extended down, but that's not really telling us anything. Let's do the... Oh, whoop. Come back here. And let's also check out, I don't know if I like that low. You know what? Pardon me for 1 minute while I readjust these. We'll go from this swing to this swing. There we go. Still doesn't paint a really clear picture because we haven't formed a bottom here yet, but oscillators on the daily, there's really not getting really a clear signal here. I mean, there's I don't see any supportive zones here. Especially from these recent swings. If we were to move this higher, do we even get a supportive fib? No, we don't. Now, you might be asking, that Fibonacci retracement I just did, I did it the wrong way. I didn't, though. This is actually the correct way you're supposed to do it. And I know I went over this a little bit yesterday, but Constance Brown, she is probably the smartest market person, one of the smartest market people out there. She let everybody know that the way that we've learned how to draw a retracement is the incorrect way, and that this is the correct way. So we're past that 618 level, and we should see the 882. Where is that at? Well, you have a couple choices for a buy entry. You could buy a break of the high in the open from yesterday at that 97.23, or if you want to, you can get in back on a cross above the 786 fib, or more ideally would be this. Oh man, I forgot to lock these. A lot of good they are now that they adjusted. But just looking at the fib level, I hate using Fibonacci retracement solo, but I mean, the daily is looking okay. I mean, this is a screaming buy. Anything is, really. It's really. It has almost no volume, and I mean it's competing against Bitcoin there, so it's naturally going to be lower. I mean, you get to buy it at a nice discount. What's the dollar one look like? All right, we've got a little bit of a different story here with the dollar pair. There's a pretty clear bottom formed there. Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't want to go long. I mean, just looking at the price action alone, this is a pretty limited risk setup. Present value area is a good entry. I'm going to look at it on the Ichimoku. We saw in the weekly how oversold it is. We're definitely forming a bowl here. I mean, across above the Kijun-sen, or the baseline, the red line in the Ichimoku system, if price crosses above that and we get the lagging span across above the baseline, that's a pretty safe entry on the daily. I mean, we're looking at the 834 price level, or just where it's at right now. I mean, we still have to be pretty cautious about Bitcoin's current price action, because it could just be throwing us for... Damn it. It's going to close above this 1x5, isn't it? Holy cow, that is a pretty powerful move. Well, this does not happen often. Stupid parabolic drives. We should all hate parabolic moves. Okay, so we're going to get another expansion wave higher if we cross above this 1x5 angle. That road to 10K is not very hard to get to. In fact, if we were to look at we go from the all-time high to the present value area. Check out the volume profile. We see a pretty nice decreasing value zone. There's actually a trough at the 10,000 value area. Remember, if in volume profile, we look for those peaks and those troughs, those high volume nodes and low volume nodes. And so wherever we see these high volume nodes, those are going to act as natural support and resistance areas. And wherever we see low volume nodes, I call them volume deserts. They act like a vacuum. So if price trades into this zone, if it trades up into this zone, it usually you see it just kind of shoot up, because there's not a lot of resistance over here. It's just kind of void. It wants to fill in this gap here. So you often observe a very swift move higher, and if it doesn't sustain, it'll come back down to fill in. But you can generally catch a pretty good pump higher. So a lot of institutional prop shops who are only using volume. They'll have their buy entries around here with their sell entries up there. But if you want some evidence that we've formed a base and we have a lot of accumulation, we need look no further than this volume profile right here. There is a significant amount of support below at that 6,600 value area, followed by this entire range between 9,500 and 7,300. I mean, this entire zone is just very, very, very bullish. And of course, this diagonal line here, this is the birthday 45-degree angle of Bitcoin. And that will be the most definite, clear signal of a return to a bull market once we cross back above it. That is not the birthday 45. What happened to it? Oh well. But that mirrored fallback pattern is certainly playing out. We're definitely more than likely, if we want to follow the mirrored fallback pattern, we're more than likely going to see selling at the 10,000 value area. But tell you what, if we close here above this 1x5, this is a pretty expansive range. We will more than likely see Bitcoin trade up from here. I mean, is that a pretty expansive range here too? God, it keeps printing higher and higher. Yeah, we're in a pretty wide distribution. Pretty wide. I mean, the angle broke and it's holding, so the rule of angle says we trade the next angle, and that's up at 9,200, and that is really mirrored by here to 8,600. Man, there is some nice price action going on in here. Beautiful, beautiful moves in cryptos. Any other coin that you would like me to go over? If not, that is perfectly fine too. We just want to go over. Where'd you go? One of the. Lendcoin. Let's see. I mean, it's got a similar price structure to, without really having to do anything. I mean, this is a, okay. The only thing about the Lend coin that Neo. Oh, I'll look at Neo here. The only thing about Lendcoin that worries me is that it is being used as a what do you call it? I forget. I think it's risky to hang on to. I guess it's fine to trade anything, but I mean, certainly there's nothing here saying that this isn't a buy. I mean, we really don't have to look at anything else to do a lot of other analysis. It's at a quadruple bottom. Could it move lower? Sure, but given the general range of the whole market, there's nothing here saying that this wouldn't be a buy. There are much better options. I mean, I'm a trader when it comes to cryptocurrencies. There's very few that I hold on to for like investment, quote unquote, purposes. you know, I hold on to Cardano, Qtum, Waves, Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum, but for trading purposes, I would not trade this. It's not very liquid, and it's just, I don't know. It's not a very interesting chart. It doesn't trade a lot. There's much better options to trade. And I also don't do a lot of research on coins either, unless I'm really interested in them, because I don't think fundamentals matter for anything. That's the kind of theory that I trade, is Gann theory. Oh, no, you didn't, did you? They got you. They gotcha. The market always moves in the direction that is going to cause the most amount of harm to the most amount of people. And I tell you what, one of the hardest things to learn, if you ever want to trade full time, is that if you've ever traded for any length of time, you probably either figured out, or you probably figured out already, that it's 90% an emotional and a psychological career. It is really the antithesis of human behavior, because you have to risk something very precious in order to make more of it. And there are a few things that are more important than money. And I mean that objectively, because money is required to provide food, shelter, and clothing. And you need it to live. So if you ever lose any of it, that's kind of stressful. And oftentimes what happens is that when you start trading and you have an idea and you're ready to hang on to it, but you sell when you shouldn't, because it's oftentimes the minute you sell whatever instrument you're trading, it starts to move in the direction you wanted it to, and then you end up waiting and chasing, and then you end up buying at the top, and it's a vicious cycle. Trading cryptos is hard to do because it's hard to short this market, and yeah, it's just a harder market to trade. But NEO, I will go over a little thing of NEO with you, because I did this for another company last year. NEO, I'll go over the price action quick as I do, I'll go over this. NEO, keep calm, Big Brother's watching you. Launched in 2014 as Ant Shares, rebranded as NEO in January of 2017. First open source blockchain in China. Open source blockchain in China. That's a smart economy, wants to be the world unto itself, but at a price. Really don't need to know this. Proof of work, proof of stake. If you're a value investor, or if you're really into how blockchain, different blockchains operate, this is probably relevant to you. Don't need to know all that. Ethereum basically is an Internet 3.0. I think I wrote this back in March of this year, but NEO wants to be a central smart economy. It wants to be like its own entity. It wants to digitize your physical assets so that you can't transfer ownership of property or of something that's a capital asset without it also being verified by the NEO network. Decentralized autonomous organizations, that is the biggest flat out lie ever. I think NEO is evil as hell. I think it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It is the devil in disguise. Smart contracts. Gas is used to run Ethereum. NEO has NEO and gas, just made up magical pixie money that it does. The more I've learned about NEO, the more I hate it. NEO's focused on creating a place to digitize physical assets and your identities as well. It's focused on complying with the Chinese government and Chinese regulators. It's working with the communist Chinese government to ensure compliance. And NEO wants to know who you are. It is not interested in being decentralized. It is the most centralized, evil. It is the antithesis of what Satoshi Nakamoto intended with Bitcoin. NEO is the total opposite. It's a cancer. These guys, the founders, I mean, this is great marketing. I'm going to put on a fleece jacket, no tie, pretentious, no tie, glasses, behind a white background and smile. I'm like, yeah, I'm just an independent entrepreneur. There's nothing to see here. These guys are not the decentralized democratic group at all. It is just another Bitcoin Cash. It's seeking endorsement from crony capitalists and corporate oligarchies. Neo is just another Ripple seeking endorsement from mega banks. It's worse than both Bitcoin Cash and Ripple because it's actively working with all of the above, and it's just the worst. Anyways, that's my rant on Neo. As a tradable coin, it is very tradable. I think actually I have a Neo chart. I think I do. Oops. Yes, I do. This is the Neo Bitcoin chart. I kind of got a choice here. I think I have the Neo dollar pair down too, don't I? I wouldn't purchase Neo unless it broke back above that 0.005 for the Bitcoin Neo pair, Neo Bitcoin pair. I would not buy it unless it broke back above the 0.0005. Is that right? Yeah. No, 0.005. Neo dollar. Oh, I did have a Neo dollar chart drawn. This one is, yeah, it's the same issue. Really not interested in, well, you know what? Actually, this one would be an easy one to get a range off of. If you can bear with me 1 second. Where is your all-time low? Yeah, right there. Sorry if I get a little quiet while I'm doing this because sometimes there's just not a lot to talk about while I'm doing that. There you are. Oh, it's in a great buying spot. Bam. Yeah. Buy the piss out, or pardon my French. That's jump on that. Oh, heck yeah. It's below this 45-degree angle. That's pretty bearish. But I mean, just given their overall sentiment of the current market, there's really no reason why this shouldn't shoot higher. It's actually lagging quite a bit. I mean, Neo's a pretty high market cap coin still, isn't it? Coin market cap, Neo, where are you at? Yes, 13th. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly lagging its peers as far as its price action is concerned. So the Neo dollar pair, that is a good entry opportunity. Not a lot of risk here. I mean, the risk is really the low of the day, a break of the low of the day, and you have significant upside momentum. on the 45-degree angle in this ranged square here, when prices break it, they usually see some pretty responsive buying, and it'll usually ride this angle for a while before it gets exhausted somewhere like at the 50% fib level inside of it. So yeah, this is actually a pretty great entry zone. Yep, Neo's got it's in the top 20, top 30, however you want to rate them, but this is a good entry zone right here. I mean, it's spot on entry. It's perfect. It's trading higher than the day before. Yep, it's got good volume, above average volume, greater than prior day's volume. Yeah, this is actually the day's not even over yet, so we could still pile on the volume. Yep, this is a good supportive buying area. Daily's got a great conditions in the composite index. Stochastic RSI's very good. We've got bullish divergence in our slow and fast oscillator on the weekly. I'm sure it's oversold like crazy. Yeah, weekly's actually kind of blech, like it wants to sell off lower, but I mean, if we don't trade higher than last week's, I wouldn't hold it into the weekend. Or if I was holding in the weekend, I'd want to monitor the hell out of it. But yeah, it's in a very good, a very strong supportive buying zone. We've also got the full moon coming up here on the 27th, which puts us at a pretty steep angle right before. I mean, this is the angle. The angles here are, and the time cycle itself are set up pretty nicely to see a rise in value, because we've been in this what is Neo's downtrend cycle from that high to here. Oops, don't need that. Yeah, within that 180, 199 days. Yeah, this is a buy on many metrics. Neo is a buy. Yep. No doubt about that. Yeah. Well, like I was saying yesterday, before we ended, I was thinking that we were going to range around for a little while until the weekend, but I mean, there is some really strong sustained momentum in Bitcoin here. It doesn't. I mean, we have experienced a great many topping patterns over the last 6 months that are followed by significant selling. We're not getting that right now. We're getting very on par and matched buying pressure. This 4-hour candlestick right here that closed at 7 o'clock Central Time. This candlestick and the volume is very indicative of people who have been used to short trading, strong resistance zones, and have been making a lot of money on shorting the tops, because that has been the best idea. But now we are seeing very strong counter bear activity. But again, I'm just going to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, right at the beginning of the stream, about this zone, is that even though we're trading above a lot of this structure here, it may be overextended. Where when the U.S. markets close, regular equity and futures markets close, I know that Bitcoin and Forex are, cryptos and Forex are still open, but it is very possible we could see a drifting down back to that 7,500 value area. So just be aware of that. Be careful of adding to any more positions. There will be a pullback opportunity to get in, but otherwise, if this holds structure today and tomorrow, and we stay above, and if we stay on the inside of this arc and we don't test lower, we're more than likely going to see a fairly parabolic rise towards that 10K zone, which should enact a sell-off towards the 7,500 value area again, or the 88.22. which is where you definitely want to scoop up a lot for the next wave higher. But just be very careful of this. Certainly shorting is not what you want to do right now. But longing at the top here is not a good idea either. Just be very trade smart. If you feel like you're missing out, that's a good time to walk away from the computer. Don't ever trade like that. Wait for a pullback or wait for your own analysis to re-enter. Just trade smart. Anyways, I hope you guys had a great trade day yesterday. I hope your trade week so far has been going good for you. And I hope that you have found this stream helpful and useful. And please, again, we're going to be here every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Please like, subscribe, and if any of you are Forex Lens members, I will see you early in the morning tomorrow. And for the rest of you, I will speak with you at the same time tomorrow here. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.